I work in restoration. Your house or business floods, my crew comes in and dries everything up, cleans the baseboards, preps the place, tosses the ruined stuff in the dumpster, and hauls it away. We leave the place clean and ready for a fresh coat of paint. I'm usually pretty proud of the work me and my crew do. We do it all. Mostly we do flood damage, but there are times we get calls from rich folks to remove stains from stone and concrete structures. I've had a museum call me for the same. I've made a name for myself in being able to get just about any stain out of any stone. You think it's easy? Or that you can just scrub away a stain? Folks seem to forget that marble ain't a solid material. It's porous. It sucks in the liquid. That's why polish and maintenance are important. That being said, I ain't an idiot though. Plenty of times I get called in for red wine. Yeah, okay, I get it. You were partying with hookers, she OD'd, conked her head on the fireplace of the coffee table, and suddenly there's a pool of blood on the marble floor of your penthouse, and you just can't get the stain out. Worse, the wife's home next week. I've done the cleanup enough times to know a few things. A, you don't ask stupid questions. Hell, half the time the hooker's fine, or would have OD'd anyway, with or without the expensive John. It's really no skin off my nose, and if you're cleaning up the scene before the cops can show up, well, that's on them. I've got a job to do, and I do it. B, do not remember these people. I'm not some guy who's going to get brought in on indecent hearing or some stupid tabloid media circus, all because I suddenly decided to have a good memory. I do a job like this. I get your address, I show up, I shake your hand, I call you Mr. Smith, and then I leave. After that, I delete your address, and I carry on with my life. The less I know, the safer I am. That being said, I don't get the blood cleanup very often. It's normally innocent stuff. Wine, sewage, floodwater, human feces. You think it's gross, but it's easier than anything else to get clean. I already hear you asking, what was my weirdest request? I need to give you some context on weird. I had a call to clean up a place after something called a Luna Party, which somehow involved a whole lot of menstrual blood and dancing in it. Next time, bring a tarp. That was probably my weirdest call. It was a Friday. I don't know why that mattered when I got the call. The secretary was out for lunch, as was the rest of the crew. Rather than let it all go to voicemail, I took the phone call. That was my first mistake. M&C Restoration Inc., Fred speaking. Yeah, that's me. I'm Fred. There was a pause, and then a guy's voice comes over, kinda timid. Yes, hello. I understand from your ad that you can remove stains from all sorts of stone? Maybe marble as well? Yeah, it's our specialty. What sort of stain you talking about? Blood. I never had someone just out and out say it. I get all the pussyfooting around, sure. Wine, salsa, sangria. Sangria was my favorite, considering that blood is in the name. But this guy, he just came out and said it plainly. How large an area we talking? Another pause. I'd say about maybe 10,000 square feet. Not the property, I tried to clarify. Just the stain? Yeah, I know. You need 10,000 square feet of marble, which is stained with blood. Cleaned. Yes? This time I had to take a moment. How many gallons was that? I thought back to that lunar party thing or whatever, but even that was only a single floor. I'm sorry. Some context is probably needed. My name's Timothy. I work in antiques. A curator friend of mine referred me to you after you managed to clear his museum steps of some blood that apparently occurred when someone took a nasty fall. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm still trying to process 10,000 square feet of stained tile, buddy. Is it too much? I was still a bit dumbfounded. Let me be frank. This site was the location of a rather bloody massacre some time ago. My colleagues and I have already examined the site in its entirety, and we're looking to begin restoration. At this point, my concern got overridden by cash. Antiquities? Historical site? That sounded like a fat government contract. Christmas come early for old Freddy. What's the budget for this project of yours? Time is more of the essence than anything. We need the site cleaned in preparation for other restoration efforts, so as soon as possible would be preferred. Your fee is essentially yours to name. You're literally the only one who I can call for this task. Haggling wasn't this guy's strong suit. Sounded to me like he needed to read the art of the deal. You're talking a whole lot of space to clear. 10,000 square feet is a whole lot of floor. It's not all floor. A good portion of it is on the walls and the ceiling. How high is the ceiling? Oh, about 50 feet. I was silent again. I was going to need to rent a scissor lift for that. I thought for a moment before I cleared my throat. I'm going to need a lot of equipment, material, at least 5 guys if you want this job done right, and fast. Of course. How long has the marble been stained? There was a moment of silence. By the current timeline? Well, 200. Wait, what's the current year again? It's 2018, I said. Not sure why he'd be asking, but I figured I shouldn't sound stupid. 350 years? Roughly? I thought for a moment, thinking about how, this being the United States, there was no way for there to be a structure like he was talking about. I ignored him and assumed he had to be wrong. Anything over a decade is as set as it's going to be anyway. I took a breath. I can't do it for less than 30 grand. I figured he'd work on needling the price down, but then he shocked me again. Understandable. I'm assuming I can ignore the number of taxes and paperwork if I provide cash up front? I coughed in shock, nearly swallowing my cigarette. Yeah, certainly. Cash. I'm gonna have to have this job done, and it was gonna have to be tax-free. It felt like I just won the friggin' lotto. So the job itself comes up. I've got my crew rolling to the address. The address was a huge rusted gate, chained on the front, typical of a site you're not allowed to get to. I see a guy standing about 6 feet in a black trench coat, black sunglasses, gloves, black dress shoes and slacks, black hair, pretty pale all things considered. He doesn't say a word and unlocks the chain on the gate. Pulled it off pretty quick too. I thought it was a heavier gauge than he made it seem, but I was probably just mistaken, being in a huge truck and not too close to the gate. The guy opens the gate and walks up the side of the truck. Fred, right? He says flatly. I nod, reaching out a hand to him. You Tim? Timothy, yes, he asked, shaking hands. He had a firm handshake. His hair is cut short, trim, proper. Military? I asked. He nods, stepping back and pointing down past the gate, motioning with his non-directing hand to move. Yeah, definitely military. So I nod and drive up. I see a huge mansion, white and gray stone steps, old siding falling apart, boarded up windows, a messed up roof, and the entire place looks to be knocked down. Rather, getting rebuilt was apparently on the docket for today. Didn't matter. I was getting paid enough not to care. As we unload, Timothy opens up the front doors and starts talking loudly. The doors need to be open at all times while you work. There's no ventilation inside. He's got a pair of pretty heavy-duty door stops on each side. From the outside, I can't see anything. Nothing but pitch black. You're going to need lights, so I hope you brought a generator. I laugh while my crew unloads the truck, setting up 2 generators and pulling down some cans of gas. This ain't my first rodeo. So it would seem, said Timothy, and then he walks inside and vanishes into the blackness. I motion for the crew to set up the lights, and the first place we go is on either side of the door. He wasn't kidding about needing light. The boards were perfect, and the inside was absolutely pitch black, like the middle of a moonless night dark. I hear the generators kick on, and the lights perk up a second later. That's when I see a massive white face appear out of the dark with brown drips across it. It's an angelic woman, carved expertly out of marble. I swear I can see the pores on her cheeks and the split ends on her long hair. There's a second similar statue about 30 feet to the left, and it's covered in brown stains. I hear one of my guys, Chavez, speak up. My God. That's about when I got the hint that something wasn't right. Chavez spoke up again. Hail Mary, our Father protect us. I picked up Chavez from a day labor site about a year ago, and I've been paying him under the table ever since. He's either from Mexico or Honduras. He's a good worker, so I never bothered to ask too many questions. He's too much. This place is cursed to high hell. There's blood all over these angel statues. What is this? Chavez was rambling. You see, the reason I never asked Chavez where he's from was that Chavez doesn't speak a goddamn bit of English. Timothy's voice soon echoed across the room, walking over the solid marble in a various state of stains and scrapes. "I trust this isn't too much for you or your men," he said. I didn't actually spot where he had come from. I hadn't really been paying attention until Chavez got a smack upside the head from one of my full-timers, a guy named Pete. "Just when the hell did you learn to speak English, Chavez?" "Since when did you know how to speak Spanish, Peter?" Chavez retorted. Timothy seemed agitated. "Gentlemen, if we can begin the job now?" And he walked past us and outside. I turned to both of my men. "Pete, Chavez, shut the hell up, both of you. We do this job, go home, and we all get a good paycheck. Capiche? No more questions. Let's get moving." "This place is cursed," Chavez said before turning around and pulling in the pressure washers and detergent bottles. I got in Chavez's face then, certain he would understand me. "Then the quicker we get started, the quicker we can get the hell out of here. Comprende?" "Understood," Chavez said, looking confused. Pete then spoke up. "Hey, boss." He focused a flashlight on a portion of the floor where the stains ended. I looked over to where the light was shining. The brown stains were everywhere, as described, but towards where one large swath of brown ended was an impression on the floor and the stuff. It was a lot clearer than anything else. The impression was of a sword, which had been drenched in blood. The sword-shaped stain didn't bother me. It's what was apparently holding it. An outstretched arm shape, then two massive wing-like stains on either side. There was a very human-like profile on the floor. We each had an idea of what we were looking at, but we were too stunned at the sight. Chavez was the first one to break the silence. "Angels died here." Good evening, everyone. It's me, Dr. Plague. Thank you so much for joining me for tonight's story. Well, this story certainly has potential, and I think we've found a new series for the show. All 5 parts are currently on Reddit, so I think this is one series we'll be able to finish. I still hold out hope daily that old Padre Gray will put out just one more, so we can finish up his Padre Gray series, but maybe I'm a little too hopeful. Regardless, I do hope you'll check out this writer's work. He's been prolific over the years, and he has quite a catalog of stories to choose from. I'll be linking not only his subreddit, but also his account so you can follow his table of contents. It's full of stories that I think you'll all enjoy. Before we go, let's go ahead and thank our sponsors. Thanks to Leslie Lou Riddle and Janet for being our Spooky Skeleton tier contributors. Thanks to Zeronin for being our Ghostly Reader tier contributor. And thanks to Glenn Jenkins for being our Ghostwriter tier contributor. Thanks, guys. We just couldn't do the show without you. If you too would like to support the show, come on down to Patreon. For just $5 a month, you too can have your name read out at the end of every TikTok and every YouTube video I do. And you can have your spooky on a Tuesday or a Thursday by being a $5 Patreon member. Members like Zeronin in my Ghostly Reader tier contributor can expect to have a signed copy of my book as soon as I get it from Amazon. So hopefully sometime in the middle of July or the beginning of August, just in time for prime spooky season. That's right. Ghostly Reader tier contributors get a signed copy of my book anytime I write one. So, come on down and get all your rewards today. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Dr. Plague, signing off. Have a wonderful evening.